Someday or other, the French would be sure to make it a matter of triumph over England, but personally, he did not care a two-penny damn about that. Oh, hey everybody. Don't mind me. I was just reading about everyone's favorite self-proclaimed emperor, Napoleon. As you may have been able to tell, not a small book. When you read a big book like this, if you're a slow reader like me, it might intimidate you. Might think, man, it'll take me years to read this. Honestly, it probably will. But, you know what? That's fine. That's not a problem. Today we're going to be talking about reading slowly and why it's not a bad thing whatsoever. Some of you might consider reading to be a chore, a task that you want to do, but you just don't have the motivation for it, or you don't have the time to read as much as you would like. I get it. I used to be like that. I would dread sitting down and reading and feel like you're taking an hour or 2 hours to just get through a couple chapters of a book. I would sometimes go consecutive days without reading just because I was just dreading it so much that I didn't want to do it. Don't let a sluggish reading speed deter you from the fact that there's a lot of great literature out there. And because you're going days of skipping reading, that just means you're missing out on a whole lot more than you would be if you just read at a slow pace. Slow reading can actually be more beneficial to the reader, in my opinion, especially if you're reading things like classical literature or an epic or a non-fiction historical book. That's mainly because when you're reading these type of books, there's a lot of minute details that get put into the story that I think if you're reading fast, I think you can overlook, or at the very least, read it, but you don't comprehend it. You're just kind of like reading it as a word on a page instead of an idea or a historical fact or something of that nature. Even if you don't like those types of novels, slow reading can help you tremendously, even if you're reading books that are a little bit easier to read and understand. Things like romance, or maybe horror, or young adult fiction and non-fiction. Things like that, because a book takes a long time to write, especially if it's one author. It takes a long time to write, it takes a long time for a story to be carefully detailed and constructed, and even if you don't like to read books, say you like to read manga, or comics, or light novels, or visual novels, things like that, slow reading can help you even then, too. Say there's a funny joke, or a detail, or something like that that goes overlooked because you read too fast. If you're reading fast, you're understanding what the plot's about and what the characters are saying, but you might not be understanding what the author's message or the moral of the story is. I think you could understand that a lot better if you took the time and read a little bit slower in that regard. Reading a book is similar to watching a movie or listening to a song or playing a video game in that you're being taken on a journey, an adventure. Why have that journey not reach its full potential when you're reading faster than you need to be, or you should be, or you're used to, or faster than you can comprehend? Slow down. Take your time. Chill out. It's not a race. Books are long. I mean, most of them are. Most of the great books are pretty sizable. So it's not something that you need to rush through within a couple of days. Just take your time. Read at your own leisurely pace. If you have to read a chapter a day, so be it. If you have to read a couple pages a day and that's all you can do, that's fine. It's better than nothing. Now, even though I just compared reading books to watching movies, literature and cinema are completely different. Have you ever read a book and then watched a movie that was supposedly based on that book, and then you leave the movie theater or you leave the living room and you say, man, the book was a lot better? There's a reason for that. Books have a lot more freedom to be detailed and descriptive than movies, because movies, a lot of it has to be visual. You have to rely on the visual effects more than an actual story because it's a movie. It's on a screen. It has a lot of visuals. With a book, a lot of things you're just reading on a page, but you're imagining it in your head what is actually happening, what everything looks like in terms of visuals. Basically, movies, games, and music are all designed to be consumed within a certain time frame, and there's really nothing you can do to change it. If a song is 4 minutes long, it's 4 minutes. You can't stretch it out and have it be 6 minutes. If a movie is 2 hours long, there's really nothing you can do. You want it to be 3 hours? Too bad. It's 2 hours. There's really nothing you can do about that. But with books, there's really not a set time frame from an author's standpoint. It might take someone a week to complete a book. That's cool. Someone else, it might take them a month. That's fine. Another person might take them an entire calendar year. That's fine too. There's no set time frame to complete a book. By taking your time and reading a book more thoroughly, you also get a better understanding of ideology of both the author and the characters, and also about the moral of the story and the messaging behind the book itself, than you would if you just read through the entire thing like it was Spark Notes. Another thing you gain by reading slower is you get to learn more of the Easter eggs and little nuggets of a story. For example, when I was reviewing The Godfather, I mentioned that Michael Corleone was born in 1920, and he was with the United States Marine Corps during World War II. Well, the author, Mario Puzo, was also born in 1920, and was also involved in World War II, though he wasn't with the Marines, he was with the U.S. Army Air Forces. Something like that will get overlooked if you don't slow down and actually read thoroughly. Of course, I think the main argument that can be made for reading slowly is that you tend to enjoy what you're reading more than you would be if you just sped read through it. If you read 100 books in a year, but you just kind of sped read through them all like they were Spark Notes, compared to if you just read 10 books a year, but you took your time and thoroughly read through them and know every detail about them, well, which would you prefer? Would you rather read more books but less of the details, or would you rather read fewer books but more of the details that made the book so special and why you enjoyed that story so much? Really, everything in life is kind of set up like this. Think of a fond memory, an accomplishment that really took a lot of hard work and dedication for you to achieve, and compare that to something that's routine and simple that happened to you. Which one are you going to remember better? The thing that took a lot of effort, or the thing that just kind of happened? Now, if you are into speed reading and you do read at a quicker pace, I'm not trying to insult you. In fact, I envy you. As I mentioned in some of my earlier videos, I'm a notoriously slow reader, so it does take me a while to get through a book or two. But I compensate for my lack of reading speed by making reading a priority and giving it a point of emphasis, which I think you should do too if you're a slow reader as well. If you consider reading important, you need to take some time out of your day and dedicate that specifically to reading. But you don't have to dedicate long stretches of time. In fact, I would suggest taking maybe 10 minutes out of the morning and then going on and doing your job or whatever. And then maybe in the afternoon or in the early evening, maybe take another 10 minutes to read. And then right before you go to bed, that's probably the best time to read. Maybe read a chapter or book while you're in bed before you go to sleep, because reading does tend to put you to sleep faster. That's not to say that the book you're reading is boring or is bad. It's not to say that at all. It's to say that you're exercising your mind, and when you exercise your mind, it gets tired. It's like your body when you work out. Your body gets tired after a while. It's the same thing with your brain. You're exercising your brain by reading, and it's going to get tired. Lastly, I want to talk about if you are a slow reader, there are ways to pick up the pace without speed reading. There is a middle ground. I would suggest using a pencil or a pen or some form of writing utensil to follow along with the words on the page. That way you're not just relying solely on your eyes to do the job of reading. If you want to use your finger, that's fine, but from my personal experience, a pencil works best for me, because if I just follow along with my finger, it's a little bit easier to become distracted than it would be if it was with a pencil, because you have a sense of touch attached to the pencil because it's obviously not a part of your body like a finger is. And with your finger, it's so easy to just kind of stop using it because all you gotta do is that. With a pencil, you're holding it, you know that it's not a part of you because it has just an unnatural feeling. So that way you become less likely to kind of drift off into a daydream, because in your mind you're just thinking, oh yeah, I have this in my hand. Well, why do I have this in my hand? Oh yeah, to read, not to daydream. So that's just me. So if a finger works for you though, that's cool. Basically, by using something other than just your eyes to follow the words on the page, you'll be able to read faster, but simultaneously, you're not going to be skipping over certain portions of the book. You will also be able to maintain focus and discipline, become less distracted. You won't be drifting off into a daydream while reading, which I'm guilty of myself. If you use your finger and that works, cool. If not, I would suggest a writing utensil. And with all that being said, just remember to read slowly, read greatly, and first and foremost, enjoy reading, because that's the beauty of literature. And also, remember to watch more of my videos. So thanks for watching, everybody.